Joining us now in the studio, Scott DeLano, Senator representing Mississippi's District 50, Harrison County. Thanks for coming in, Senator. Good to see you. Happy New Year, sir.
Good to see you. Happy New Year to you and Rhino.
All right, so you guys get gavelled in this week, and it didn't take long. The lieutenant governor announces he is COVID positive, and I think Senator Hobson as well, right?
I'm not familiar. I haven't talked with Briggs to know, but I knew that he wasn't feeling well the other day.
Yeah, I think that's the word. So we had Representative Becky Curry on yesterday, who shared with us that the House, I guess, kind of has an optional situation where they can be present or they can participate remotely. What's happening in the Senate? Any rules changes there?
It's kind of the same thing. You know, I think we're trying to modify the best that we can, just like every other business is having to do. We've got work to get done. We do have a constitutional issue we have to follow, especially regarding quorums and the number of people that are required to be in a building or in a committee room. Okay. So we're making some adjustments, but I think we're gonna get through it. I think individually you have to be responsible for yourself, taking care of your health and the health of others around you.
Sure.
And just manage the symptoms, and we'll all work together to get through this.
Yeah, totally agree. And hopefully this is short term. We get on the other side of this and get back to normal, as they say. All right. So start out with the map, the redistricting map of our congressional districts. Mm-hmm. I assume you've seen that, and looks like that's good to go.
Yeah, I believe so. I think the House has taken action on it this morning. I look forward to that coming over to the Senate this next week, and I'm sure that we'll move that through pretty quickly. Yeah,
it looks like it's a good plan, and will comply with all the federal rules and laws pertaining thereto, and we should be good to go. Not, I think, terribly complicated in our state with 4 congressional districts. The big challenge, of course, was that Representative Benny Thompson had quite the decline of population in his district, and so in the redrawing of that, it looks kind of strange when you look at it just as a style of the map, but that's what it takes to, I think, get it done and be compliant.
Yeah, and there's guidelines that have to be followed, and I think that both committees in the House and the Senate have worked really hard to make sure that they've put forward the best plan that's available. And I know there will always be debate on with other viewpoints, but sure, it's a plan that meets all the criteria. It's a fair plan, and hopefully we'll be able to get that behind us next week.
I agree. I know that's a bit time sensitive, is what the Speaker shared with us earlier this week when he was on the program. So that seems to be top priority and first order of business. What else you got? I mean, there are lots of issues that have been, frankly, had legs even after last year's session and have continued on. With respect to medical marijuana is a big one. Tax reform is another. You got this big pot of money from the rescue plan that's got to be doled out. All of those, of course, are high up there. I saw Representative Becky Curry dropped her CRT ban bill this morning, dove into that a little bit, fairly straightforward, had her on the program. What's on your plate? What are you focused on?
Still working on a lot of the major issues that you talked about. I'm deeply involved in some of those discussions. But, individually, every year I always have a little bevy of bills that are that pertain basically to the Technology Committee, which I'm the chairman of. Yep. I also am the vice chair of Military Affairs. Okay. And I've got several bills that I've been asked to file through our military installations here in our state to try to help with some quality of life issues, not necessarily on base, but around the area, and how we can provide a better environment for the airmen or the military service members that live in and around our communities in our installations that we have here. So working on a couple of things there. Policy-wise, we do a lot of work in Appropriations Committee. In trying to make sure that we set some things. I will be working on continuing to work on how do we make revisions to the procurement process for IT. Some of those discussions are always every single year it comes up. How can we do a better job? And I think everybody in business asks those same questions as well, trying to find the best bang for the buck and how do we grow, or how do we set ourselves up with an enterprise type solution where we can benefit, have many other agencies provide or receive the benefits of having these larger software type systems. Dealing with stuff like that.
And that, I think that's important. So, one of the things that comes up a lot and something that I pushed for going back 20 years was a way to transition these 82 islands of county systems into a central cloud-based system or even in a hybrid system. Most of the counties have the same needs. Mm-hmm. There are some nuances between counties based on laws and rules in those counties, but the core systems and the core processes are fairly similar, if not identical, from county to county. But we've got these individual 82 little fiefdoms, all of which are lacking, frankly.
Yeah, and it's much deeper than that because you also have your school districts, your library systems, IHLs. We're all working in the community colleges. We're all working together to try to come up with what that framework would look like, and then providing solutions, and not necessarily from the state's perspective, but from an express products list standpoint, where we've gone out and we've vetted, we've gotten a better deal, the best deal that we can for the taxpayers, and then allow these other entities, both state and local entities, to participate in those savings that we've been able to negotiate. So that's something that we're working on.
Yeah, the EPL, and honestly, that was a concept that I remember when it was hatched and launched. Back in the 80s, maybe it seems like, right after we had gotten in business, and having done, I will say this, having done business in a number of other states in this country, our procurement process is actually pretty good relative to the other states. We've got experience in a number of them, and so I just want to point that out.
I agree with you.
It's worthy of compliment and praise, I think. We do a pretty good job there.
Yeah, they really do over at ITS. They do a really good job. Sometimes it's difficult for agencies, especially those people or the agency people who are not very versed in how procurements or technical procurements work. Right. It's very different than buying boxes of paper towels or commodities.
Totally agree.
So this is something new that we have to work through, and we do that. Yeah. And it hopefully it'll stay good, and maybe we can make it a little better.
Agree, and applaud you for working on that. But I just want to point out it's pretty dang good relative to the other states. Doesn't mean we stop and don't try to continue to improve it, which is good. All right, mobile sports betting. It comes up a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's within your scope.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that it's going to be something that is going to come to the state, and let's just make sure that we understand.
Yeah, you describe
what we're really talking about here is people who live in Mississippi, in the borders of Mississippi, being able to get onto a mobile application to make wagers for sporting events. This is not. And what I do not want to see, and what I'm not in favor of, is any form of iGaming. And I do not want to see a slippery slope where we allow for electronic sportsbook, and then that is a segue into the iGaming platforms, other iGaming platforms. Mm-hmm. I think what we've done in Mississippi is we came out first. We had the Gaming Commission was on their game. They knew exactly what needed to be done. We implemented a really good program for sports betting in our bricks and mortars casinos, and we've seen a huge increase in foot traffic within our casinos in times of the year that we normally would not have as much traffic.
And they're all reporting record sales.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It just adds another amenity that the state of Mississippi is able to provide to people. And that entertainment is really what we're trying to sell to a customer. Yep. And this will give people in Mississippi an opportunity to participate in other sporting events, because those do happen on a quicker frequency. Now, there's still some things that have to be worked out. That's what we're going through. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to something. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to kill the goose that's laid the golden egg and turn it into something that is going to be detrimental to our bricks and mortar casinos, the people that are investing in the state of Mississippi, hiring Mississippi employees, and paying taxes in our local school districts, as well as what comes to our state. Yeah, the actual tax dollars that the state of Mississippi receives from sports betting is extremely low relative to the traffic that you see. Yeah. So that's something that we're going to continue to work on. I will introduce a bill this year that will hopefully address some of those issues, but it's something we're going to continue to work through both in the House and the Senate.
Can you hang around? I want to ask you, just get your thoughts on these other major issues: medical marijuana, tax reform, Medicaid expansion, spending all this money we got coming.
Great. Good. Sounds wonderful.
All right, we got Senator Scott DeLano in the studio. Stay with us midday, Super Talk Mississippi. We got Senator Scott DeLano in the studio. So, Senator, we were talking about mobile sports betting and some discussions there, possibly some new legislation. Got to be careful there to make sure, like you said, that we don't do damage to what is producing good economic returns for the state, not just from public money's perspective, but from a private sector economic perspective as well. Question on the C Spire text line: what is iGaming? You want to explain that?
Well, iGaming would be a place where you could play slot machines or roulette or video poker and wager dollars on a mobile platform. And then what that will grow into very quickly is you will walk into a sports bar and you will take your mobile device and you will set it on a pad, and that device or the machine that you're working on, it will make a link digitally through Bluetooth to allow you to play your games. It would look just like a casino, but you're bringing that connection and you're bringing the actual play in by your mobile device, and that's just something that would be absolutely detrimental to what we've built up in our state, and as far as being a destination marketing location for people to come in. And we've had great investment all throughout our state to try to enhance those opportunities, and because we want people to come back, not just for gaming, but for the different sporting events, the food, the entertainment, everything that we're able to offer. Our natural, especially on the Gulf Coast, being able to come down.
Lodging.
Yeah, it's great.
I totally agree. So something else, and you and I were discussing this a little bit off the air, but question about the ABC. That's just a problem. It won't go away, and I won't get into the details, but I read the text to you from this listener. What do you think? What should we do there? We had hearings last year about this, right?
Yeah, we've had plenty of hearings over it. Hopefully, we're going to be able to get something this year, at least, to get us moving in the right direction, so we know how to plan for the future. We need that from a fiscal standpoint, understand what our capital outlay is going to be if we choose to go that route. I'm still a fan of the quasi privatization of it, similarly that we did with the lottery board. I think that would give the ABC the flexibility that it needs to make the changes and to provide the service that our customers require, whether that be liquor stores, restaurants, or the consumers, the direct consumers. So I think that's something that's going to be looked at. I know Josh Harkins, our chairman over in finance, and Trey Lamar have been working on that, and hopefully we'll get to see something come out this year for us to take seriously and try to alleviate some of the problems. I get more phone calls from restaurants,
I'm sure,
and from casinos down on the coast that express those problems or those concerns, as well as friends and family that can't find very basic wine and spirits that they normally would find in any other time. And liquor stores aren't able to get it, and we need to help them out in there. Yeah,
and it's just a sheer function of lack of capacity, lack of systems, and we've just outgrown it. And physical capacity and system functionality and capacity, and it's the model, I think, is kind of old relative to what the needs are today, and we've got to shore that up, and lots of different ideas on how to do that. So I agree. Hopefully we'll get something done to improve that. This particular listener just said, it take 1 day to order and receive your liquor at your store to 21 days now. That's how long the time frame has lagged now. So out of stock on a lot. I mean, these are things you already know, and I know you've heard it a lot from constituents and others across the state. We all know this is a problem. So hopefully we'll get that addressed. All right. So, one of the most contentious issues perhaps that I can remember in recent memory with respect to legislation is this medical marijuana program. And the story there. The voters went to the ballot, and they voted for a measure that won by fairly overwhelming numbers. But then the Supreme Court struck it down. And there's been lots of debate and work on that from both chambers. Senator Blackwell in the Senate, Representative Lee Yancey over on the House side. The governor has very strong feelings on what his requirements are to sign off on a bill. Now I hear Speaker of the House Philip Gunn say the House isn't going to do anything. We're going to let the Senate run with this and take the lead. Where do we stand? What do you think?
Well, I think that the Speaker's comments have been on par with what he has said in the past. Yeah. And we've always anticipated this would start over on the Senate side and then move over to the House. I think that both chairmen have done a great job of trying to put together the best bill possible to closely reflect the will of the voters. Mm-hmm. And while there are some differences now with the governor's office, those need to be resolved quickly. Let's get a bill before the Senate. Let's get it out. Let's get it passed, and let's get a program set up and started. And you know how legislation works, and especially with big programs like this, that you're not going to get it perfect the first time. You're going to always need to make changes to it. Yep. What I like about this particular scenario, first of all, I wish we would have taken this up in a special session. We should have done this before we got here today. But now we're here. Let's take the bill up. Let's get it passed. If we need to tweak it, we have the rest of the session to make some tweaks as necessary, technical amendments. But let's get the bill. Let's get the bill out. Let's get it out to the public. Let them look at it. Let it see. And I think people will be pleasantly surprised to see that it will closely reflect what the will of the voters wanted. And I think that's exactly what my constituents want, and I'm here to represent them.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that and see where that goes. Another major issue, of course, is tax reform. You're well aware that the Speaker, he has stated that this is his top priority, and a bill did pass the House last year, got to the Senate, really didn't get any traction. Senator Harkins, who chairs the Finance Committee, did commit to holding hearings on the matter, and he did so, had a number of different parties testified, was invited by the Speaker to testify as well, and appreciate that. Where do we stand now? So I think it's kind of in the Senate's court. Yeah,
I think so too, and I really wouldn't try to speak for Josh Harkins and what he's doing, and especially since I'm on the appropriations side. I'm not involved in the committee work that's ongoing over on finance. But I think that a majority of the people in the legislature would like to see a smart approach to removal of the income tax, and I think that's something that they're going to continue to work on. And I look forward. There's a lot of really great minds that are working on this, and it's something that we've had a little bit of time to digest and offer some amendments to it. And I think that I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get something out by the end of the session as well.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. And then let's see what else we got going on over there. You got a bunch of money you got to dole out. It's coming up, $1.8 billion from the CARES Act. From the American Rescue Plan, CARES Act. I still got that on the brain. $1.8 billion. Somewhat restricted in how that money can be applied and deployed. That's going to take some time. My understanding is that when some requests were made of members of the legislature and certainly the state leaders, the lieutenant governor, et cetera, from various factions, they came back with $7 billion. Not surprising there. We got 1.8. How do you see that shaking out?
Well, I think that it's going to be a long process that we'll go through. I personally like the plan that the lieutenant governor went and spoke to our counties and cities about. And I come from a commercial development background. I understand how long it takes to get projects permitted and get things permitted. We want to see this money deployed quickly, not just deployed to the local entities, but we want to see the construction out, and we want to see the results of these investments or these expenditure of funds done in a short fashion. The only way we're going to be able to do that in a pragmatic way is to leverage what projects the cities and the counties already have in their pipeline for construction that they've already worked on through their budgetary process, and hopefully we can knock some things out with that. But there's going to be we know there's going to be a whole lot of requests. I certainly think that we're going to have to look at some issues, especially with health care.
Yeah.
And that's what the money was intended to be used for to begin with. We're going to have to take a hard look at what do we do to help alleviate some of the strains and stresses that we have seen over the past couple of years in our healthcare system.
And I think that message, in fairness, is consistent with what the Lieutenant Governor's message has been as well, and his intent and his goals with this money. Senator, really appreciate you coming on and appreciate your service, sir, and look forward to seeing you. Probably see you down there at the Capitol before it's all over with.
Thank you. Look, I always enjoy coming on and talking with y'all.
Appreciate that, Senator.
Thank you.
Senator Scott DeLano, he represents District 50 in Harrison County. We'll be back with more Middays. Stay